settle down.
The Federal Agriculture Minister, Murray Watt, speaking there with Clint Jasper about the new biosecurity levy announced in last night's budget. I spoke to the President of the Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers Association, Ian Sauer, for his reaction to the federal budget and the new biosecurity levy for farmers, which will come into effect in July next year.
Well, with agriculture in Tasmania in mind, Tony, it was a little bit underwhelming. There was really nothing there that stood out. It looked as though most things in the agricultural area that would affect agriculture had been, clipped by about 5%. So there was nothing new there. I mean, we were perhaps hoping that there was going to be some more funding, to get some overseas workers in. There could have been some to do with rural remote housing. There are a range of opportunities that presented. We noticed that road funding is really important these days by getting timely goods to market and making sure that people can drive around. I mean, there was very little in that, and that seemed to be happening Australia-wide as well. The strengthening of the biosecurity system, really disappointing. Biosecurity is probably one of the most important pillars in agriculture when you're thinking strategically, making sure that we can keep out and prove that we're disease-free. But then to increase the biosecurity presence, but having the farmers fund that or part funded is just a nonsense, because it's not the farmers that bring these disease pests in. We're the ones that have to deal with it. We're the ones that have to give the cash and in-kind to control it when it arrives here, not through our doing. So we're already paying for biosecurity through a range of other levies, and whether that's MLA or not. But to then get lumbered again, we think is grossly unfair.
And just to look at it, this is a new biosecurity protection levy on all domestic agricultural fisheries and forestry producers, okay? And it says a cattle producer will pay an extra 50 cents per head of cattle. That's an extra charge, while a honey producer will pay less than half a cent per kilo of honey. A domestic apple producer less than 0.19 cents per kilo. Who's going to measure all this?
Well, good luck in measuring that, Tony. All the best of British luck. I mean, some Muppets have certainly been working on this, because you just won't be able to do it. So apart from the complexity and the cost in trying to, understand those levies charges and administer them, I just think it'll pale into insignificance. However, I just make the point again that it's not the farmers that bring these disease pests into it. We're the ones that bear the cost. We're the ones that have to manage it. We're the ones that actually get a reduction in income. And so that levy should have been levied at the other end of the food chain, not our end. And there's been no consultation about that I know.
A lot of Tasmanian farmers are also growing plantation timber, and it says a forest grower for plantation logs will pay an extra 1.05 cents per cubic metre of the log.
Well, again, Tony, I mean, if it wasn't so serious, it would be laughable. I don't know how that's going to be administered, but again, it's another cost. And isn't it funny that, that you've got, through the budget, the government have got quite a strong focus on with climate change and alternative fuels, etc., and forestry will be part of that mix. So then why would you want to go and layer another level of complexity and red tape and cost on those forest growers at a time when forestry is going to play such a major role in some of the government's strategic objectives through climate change? I don't understand.
Back to that Pacific Island scheme, there's more money for that, obviously. So they seem to be putting more effort into getting more Pacific Island workers out here. Is that the answer to the worker shortage?
Oh, look, it's one of the pillars, being able to bring overseas workers in to do that seasonal work. And indeed, look, many overseas workers are now coming out here on longer visas, and they're becoming part of the fabric of these rural and regional communities. But it's a lot bigger than that, Tony. I mean, the issue is that what we need to be doing is we want to be having education courses that are fit for purpose. We want our younger kids, as they're getting towards the end of their school life, to be immersed and introduced to agriculture so they can see there's a fantastic career in agriculture. I mean, 30 or 40 years ago, I mean, agriculture was a one-way road to a lot of hard, dusty work, but now it's not. I mean, there's information technology, there's agronomy, there's animal sciences, soil sciences. There's a range of pathways for our younger people, and we need to be, one, introducing them to those pathways. We need to make sure that the education is accessible. That's the first thing. It needs to be accessible. And in Tasmania, it's not particularly accessible, and it needs to be fit for purpose as well. So that's part of it. And then the next part we've got is that we've got a dire housing shortage in many of the rural and regional areas in Tasmania. And so we need to get that fixed up. And the way to be able to fix that up is that some of our planning laws are going to be changed so that farmers are able to put another house or dwelling on their farms so that they can introduce more workers to the farm, and they're not driving 60 miles or 70 kilometres a day to go to work. They can actually live on the property.
Okay, now back to the budget last night. There were some good things from the budget. Money coming for irrigation schemes in Tasmania?
Yes, absolutely. And look, that's good. I mean, TFGA are always going to support good irrigation schemes, and the ones that TI have been delivering are good irrigation schemes, and the Sassafras farmers and the Northern Midlands farmers will be delighted about that. So we see that great. I mean, these irrigation schemes, Tony, provide economic and social benefits to not only the farmers who are involved, but to the general community around those irrigation schemes.
And all farmers will be able to take advantage of the $20,000 tax write-offs. Is that enough? It's a continuation of the scheme, but there's a top on it. $20,000 is it.
Oh, well, it's, this budget's been trimmed all the way through, so look, $20,000 will help, and it only goes for another 12 months, I think, if my memory serves me correctly. So, look, it's certainly important. It's an important taxation incentive to make sure that farmers are able to keep up with the latest technology and innovation. It's not just about buying, a shiny piece of machinery or helping buy it. I mean, this is making sure that farmers are able to keep up with the latest innovation to keep the costs down so that we can provide good food and fibre at a reasonable cost.
As President of the Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers Association, Ian Sauer.